I'm going to quote to you a piece of the instructor's manual on the subject of data abstraction in the evaluator. So it's concerning section 4.1.2, which is about exactly how to represent expressions and environments, yeah, as list structure. So 4.1.2. I should point out to you that this section is boring, as is much of section 4.1.3, and explain why. Writing the selectors, constructors, and predicates that implement a representation is often uninteresting. It's important to say explicitly what you expect to be boring and what you expect to be interesting, so that students don't ascribe their boredom to the wrong aspect of the material and reject the interesting ideas. For example, data abstraction isn't boring, although writing selectors is. So in other words, the idea that you can have an abstract data type, like a procedure, say, where we have these selectors, body, and proc-env, and formals, the fact that we can have such a representation is interesting. The particular writing of, formals equals cater and body equals cateter and whatever, that's boring. The details of representing expressions, as given in 4.1.2, and environments in 4.1.3, are mostly boring. But the evaluator certainly isn't. Okay. I actually think, this is one of the few places where I disagree with Abelson and Sussman, I think they go a little overboard on data abstraction. So in the evaluator, there are many different abstract data types that are sequences of some particular kind of thing, in the same way that a forest is a sequence of trees. And they do a separate abstract data type, not just for the underlying element types, but for each sequence type. So there's an abstract data type which is the sequence of cond clauses in a cond expression. So there's a selector, first cond clause, and rest of cond clauses. And the same thing for environments. There's a selector, first frame, and a selector, rest of frames. And all of those things are just car and coulter, because whenever you have a sequence of things, a linear boom, 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 boom sequence, car means the first one, and coulter means all the rest of them. And if it were me, I would have the abstraction for a frame or a cond clause, but I wouldn't have a separate abstract data type for each of these sequence things. So I think they make it more boring than it has to be by doing that.